plenty to get to here on the show. It was a big weekend, by the way, for sports in the NBA, in Major League Baseball, in the National Hockey League. And then, of course, we had the story of the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. And yet another big dog comes through here. 18-1 shot. Mystic Dan was the winner on Saturday of the Kentucky Derby. That is not the story today. According to Churchill Downs, $210.7 million was wagered on Mystic Dan's win, beating the previous record of $188 million in 2023, going off as an 18-1 underdog. Held off Sierra Leone, Forever Young, to win the closest finish since 1947. The trainer says Mystic Dan will race in the Preakness in a few weeks. Incredible finish for the Kentucky Derby, and now we will see if Mystic Dan has a shot at the Triple Crown, Preakness and Belmont Stakes. Those are the next two big races to come. All right, in the NBA, we did get one Game 7. Not a very competitive Game 7, but needless to say, give some credit to the Orlando Magic. No one had them making the playoffs. No one having them taking the Cleveland Cavaliers to 7 games. But the Cavs win the series yesterday, 106-94. That was the final. They win the series in 7, 4-3. The Boston Celtics, who have been resting for a week, it feels like now, they're going to play on Tuesday night against Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell had 89 points in Game 6 and Game 7. It's the second most total points in Game 6 and 7 in playoff history. And the Cavs did cover the 3.5-point spread, no doubt. But the reason why Spider Mitchell is on Cleveland is to simply put his team over the top. He said after Game 7, he knew that's why he was there, and he was happy to deliver.
89 points, and you're off to the semifinals in the Eastern Conference for you over the last 2 games. Is playoff Spider?
I mean, I told you at the beginning of the series, like, this is why I'm here. It's my job. It's why there's the expectation on myself, and I deserve the criticism as much as the, what do you call it? The success, the praise. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, it's just continue to be level-headed. I did my job. That's it. Like, I just did my job, and I got to continue to do my job for us to continue to advance.
Celtics are considered one of the better defensive teams in the league. We'll see what happens when that series begins tomorrow night. Meanwhile, credit also to the head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, getting the Cavs to the second round. Remember when LeBron James used to do that years ago? Here they are. Cleveland is back. And speaking of LeBron and leaders, Bickerstaff says that's what Mitchell has become.
He's the guy, that can pull everybody along, not just with his skill, but in spirit as well. When you see your teammate, a guy you care about, playing that way, like, you don't want to let that guy down. So you go out and do whatever you can to help that guy. And, we talk about everybody has their style and their piece of leadership here. And that's how Don leads, is by being special in the moment. And, again, his teammates want to be a part of it, don't want to disappoint them, because that's how they care about each other. So they go out and do more so they can help it.
See what happens in round 2 with Mitchell and Cleveland. They're a big underdog in the series against Boston. Meanwhile, the Dallas Mavericks made it out of the first round of the NBA playoffs. Credit to their head coach, Jason Kidd, of course, the Hall of Famer. It was announced he's signing a contract extension with the Dallas Mavericks, now in his 3rd season, after playing for many years, of course, primarily with Dallas and Phoenix. He also coached in Brooklyn and Milwaukee and the Lakers as an assistant. 52 wins for the Dallas Mavericks during the regular season. They got back, of course, in that win over the Clippers in Game 6. So probably, I would say, fair to say Jason Kidd going to be in Dallas for a long period of time as their head coach. But meanwhile, he will not have one of his key contributors on the court in the next series against Oklahoma City, as Maxi Kleber suffered a 3rd-degree dislocation of his AC joint in his right shoulder. And it's called a full dislocation, so he's going to be out a significant period of time, if not the entire postseason. Very versatile player, playing a big role for the Mavericks, coming off the bench, 10 of 18 from 3, averaged almost 20 minutes a game. They'll play the Thunder without him tomorrow night. All right, also, Lonzo Ball is staying with the Chicago Bulls. He's exercised his option, $21.4 million for the 24-25 season. This despite having so many surgeries, unfortunately. Left knee, cartilage transplant, 2023. He did sign a 4-year, $80 million deal in a sign and trade with New Orleans back a few years ago and had the Bulls off to a good start, but he's just been injury-plagued over the course of the last couple of years, unfortunately, for Lonzo Ball. So he exercised his option, $20 million for next year. 2 NBA games tonight. Pacers at the Knicks. Knicks 6-point favorites at the Garden. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Timberwolves, after taking game one, going to try and do it again tonight. Can they? Against the Denver Nuggets. We'll preview that game later. That game is 10 o'clock Eastern tonight. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, wouldn't you know, it only took a little bit over a month, but Shohei Ohtani is now in a three-way tie for the home run lead in Major League Baseball after hitting 2 more home runs yesterday. Wow. 4 for 4 yesterday for him in the Dodgers win over the Atlanta Braves. They swept them in the 3-game series. Best series of the year, no question, for LA. It was Ohtani's first multi-homer game with the Dodgers. He's now tied with Marcell Ozuna, Mike Trout, and Gunnar Henderson for the Major League lead with 10 home runs. Of course, Trout is on the injured list. Meanwhile, tonight in Los Angeles, it's been almost a year and a half since we've seen Walker Buehler, and he's going to make his debut this season since Tommy John surgery when they take on the Marlins this evening. That's a 10 o'clock first pitch start. The Minnesota Twins, their winning streak is over. The Boston Red Sox finally took care of business against them. The final was 9-2 yesterday. The Twins had won 12 games in a row. By the way, many of those games against the Chicago White Sox, if you're keeping track. And also Stephen Kwan, the American League batting leader, is headed to the injured list with a hamstring strain. Kyle Manzardo is coming up. He was involved in a big trade for Cleveland last season. All right, in the NHL, we'll have a preview of the games coming up. Joe Madden will join us for her look around the league, but Dallas defeated the defending champs, knocking them out for good. Vegas is done. They win in Game 7, 2-1. The Stars advance to the second round. They'll take on Colorado. Meanwhile, how about this story from J.J. Watt? We thought that he retired at the end of last season, but meanwhile, with the way the Houston Texans are going, maybe Watt could return for a potential final season. He says he has a beautiful wife, a beautiful son, 12 great years in the league, very thankful. But at the same time, if you absolutely need it, give me a call and I'll be there. So maybe we will see Watt come in at the end of the season for the Houston Texans. Meanwhile, over at the Byron Nelson Classic on the PGA Tour, Taylor Pendrith wins a 3-foot birdie, his first PGA Tour win. Congrats to him, 32 years old, 74th PGA Tour start. Incredible finish yesterday in NASCAR, in case you missed it. The closest finish maybe ever in the history of NASCAR as Kyle Larson wins the NASCAR Cup Series, beating Chris Buescher at the line. 0.01 differential at the end. I mean, that is a tenth of a second. The two cars between him and the runner-up, Buescher, banged doors as they headed for the stripe. It was so close that both teams began to celebrate. That's how close it was. Wow, you can see that there. That's a photo finish, although Hendrick Motorsports kept the party going. In fact, if you watch the end of that race, it looked like both teams thought they won the race at the end. That was as close as it could potentially get on the NASCAR circuit. All right, well, over the weekend, we did get some NFL news, and we had one free agent signing in the National Football League, and we're going to cover that coming up for you next as Odell Beckham Jr., the well-traveled wide receiver, is now taking his talents not to South Beach because the Dolphins don't play there. They play in Miami Gardens. So Odell Beckham Jr. will be going to play in Miami Gardens with the Miami Dolphins next season. We'll also touch on whether or not J.J. Watt comes back and plays for the Houston Texans. We also have our SportsGrid sound off. We'll hear from Nikola Jokic. We'll get the very latest from Christian DeBlock around social media. And Joe Madden previews tonight's NHL slate with the Florida Panthers back in action against the Boston Bruins.